Today we are starting our circles unit, and this is material that used to be part of the geometry curriculum but has since been moved to pre-cal, so you shouldn't find this too difficult. It's just some other material to cover. So first thing we need to talk about with circles is the standard form of the equation. The standard form of the equation of a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared and there's two important pieces of information inside of this equation. First is the center point of the circle, that's the h and k. And then the r in the equation stands for radius.
Is HK a point? Like on
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the center point of the circle. And then just a quick little vocab review. If that's the center of a circle, and I'm going to redo that. I should have drawn the circle first. Draw a circle, then figure out where the center is, not the other way around. Okay, I'm going to do that again. There's my circle. So that point there we call the center. And then the radius is the distance from the center to the side of the circle. And then the full distance from one side of the circle to the other is what we call the diameter. We're going to do two examples to start with, and this set of directions is going to go with those two. Given the center and radius, write the equation of the circle in standard form. So for our first example, the center is 3, 4, and the radius r is 5. So we'll just start with our equation. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. And then we're just going to fill in the info. And remember the center point is h comma k. So we have x minus 3 squared plus y minus 4 squared is equal to 5 squared. And for this problem, the only thing we need to change in the final answer is we do need to square the 5. Don't just leave it as 5 squared. So our final answer is x minus 3 squared plus y minus 4 squared is equal to 25. I'm going to do one more of those. Second example, we have a center of negative 5, 8. And the radius r is square root of 13. Again, our equation is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. Plugging in h and k and r, we have x minus, we have a negative 5 squared plus y minus 8 squared is equal to the square root of 13 squared. So when we have this minus negative happening here, you do need to change that to a plus. X plus 5 squared plus y minus 8 squared equals, and then when you have the square and square root present together, they'll just cancel, and it'll just be 13. And the big takeaway here is to notice that when you plug the h and the k in, the sign is going to change every time because of the minus in the original formula. So in this problem, h was originally negative 5. When you plug it in, it appears to be positive, but it's not. And then when you plug the k in 8, it started as positive, but in the equation appears to be negative. So just understand that that switch does happen. Something to think about. Any questions on these types of examples before we do something else? Okay. Got 2 more problem types left. Example 3. Graph x minus 2 squared plus y plus 3 squared equals 9. So in order to graph it, you need to know the 2 pieces of information, the center and the radius. What is the center of the circle? Good? Nope. There you go. Yep. So that's the trick on these is remembering that the formula changes what the signs actually are. So you always do the opposite of what they say. So this is actually going to be a positive 2, and this is actually going to be a negative 3. And then the radius, be careful. The 9 here, that's r squared. So the radius is not 9. The radius is the square root of 9.
Thank Thank you. This one? Any of this?
So that means R is actually 3.
We got name all 50 states. You know the song. I don't know the song.
So there's 2 slight curveballs that you just got to look out for, changing the signs, and then don't forget to square root the number to get the actual radius. Now graphing, you'll have actual graphs provided to you when you do the homework, when you take the quiz, but on this we're going to have to freehand it. And just to have our bases covered, we'll go out 6 on the axes. Now obviously it's not going to be a beautiful circle, but it's going to be the right idea. What we do is we start by graphing the center. So our center point is at 2, -3. And then from there we graph the radius, and so the radius is 3. So it'll go out all around by 3 units, and the most accurate way is to go the straight directions from there. So up, down, left, right, 3. I'm going to put 4 more points on the graph. First I'll go up 3, I'll put me on the x-axis. Left 3, down 3, and right 3. And then you'll draw a circle using these outer 4 dots.
We gotta put the points left, right, or we can just
Well, what'd you say?
we gotta put the points like every single point.
Like all 4 of these?
Yeah.
I would recommend it because it's going to give you the best possible result. That's graphing a circle. Any questions? I've got one more problem to show you, and this is the one that takes the most time. Requires a bit of work. Example 4. Determine the equation of the circle with center -6, 2, containing the point -9, -2. So let's start with what we know about the circle. We know that the center is at -6, 2. And then the wording containing the point -9, -2, that's a point on the circle. It's contained by the circle. Yes.
So does your radius just have to be a number that would get you to both? If you went straight to adding the x and the y, would get you to both of those?
You're on the right track. That's what we need to find, but it'll be a different way. So to kind of help show you what we need to do, I'm going to draw a visual. It's not going to be perfect, but just kind of visualizing this scenario. So again, draw a circle. And we have our center point here at -6, 2. And then I'm not actually on the graph, so this isn't going to be perfect, but just in theory, -6, 2, and then the point -9, -2, that would be left 9 from here, and then it'd be down 4. So, and it's not going to be a straight shot by any means, so I'm just going to put it like right here. And let's say that's where that point is, -9, -2. To make our equation, you have to have the center and the radius. We clearly already have the center, but we don't have the radius. So the radius would be the distance from the center to that point. That's what we need to find. And to give you an idea of the direction we're going in, to find that, r is the distance between the given points. This is going to bring back a very old geometry concept, the distance formula. It can show you the distance between any two given points. The distance formula, square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. For this problem, our 2 points are -6, 2 and -9, -2. Now, as someone who has previously taught geometry, I've taught it for 2 years, I have seen a fair amount of mistakes made on this problem. So even though you're in pre-cal, please take your time on these problems. Don't rush. Easy mistakes can be made all the time on these problems. Your first point, remember these are x, y, not x, x, and y, y. So this is x1, y1, and point 2 is x2, y2. And we're using this to find r. R is equal to the square root x2, which is -9, minus x1, which is -6, squared, plus y2, which is -2, minus y1, which is 2, squared. Now you're welcome to type that entire thing into your calculator if you like, but I like to shorten it just a little bit before I do that. R equals -9 minus -6. Of course, we're going to turn that into a plus plus. That's going to become -3 squared. Plus -2 minus 2, that's -4 squared. Now, when you put this in the calculator, I would not include the square root in case it's not a nice perfect square. Now, this one does happen to be a nice perfect square, so it wouldn't make a difference. But my recommendation is leave out the square root. When you type negatives and you're squaring them into your calculator, you must put parentheses around it. I've seen several of you not doing that with the Pythagorean theorem last unit, and it threw off your answers. If you don't include the negatives, your calculator will not consider the negative in its calculation. Everyone in here, you're in pre-cal for a reason. You should be able to look at that and tell me that's wrong. It should not be -9, it should be +9. So using parentheses absolutely makes a difference. -3 squared plus -4 squared. That'll give me +25. So our radius r is the square root of 25, which we know to be 5. Now that we know r, we can build the equation and answer the question. Again, the equation is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Filling in our values, we have x minus h, all the way up here real quick. H and k was -6 and 2. So we have x minus -6 squared plus y minus 2 squared is equal to, our r was 5. So 5 squared. And then simplifying that, we have x plus 6 squared plus y minus 2 squared is equal to 25. And that is our final answer.